Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Today I'm going to be showing you how to automate a task that's super manual, really tedious, and is always asked for at least once in the lives of a data analyst, and that is to create a data dictionary. So before, what I used to do is open up my relational database and basically open up my database, which in this example is the mobile games database, and one by one I would open up every SQL table and manually jot down the name of the table, the column names, and the column data types. And it was an extremely unglamorous, tedious thing I had to do and probably did many times unnecessarily. So what I'm going to show you how to do is save you this pain and kind of headache by showing you how to automate this in Python. So here we are in Visual Studio Code, and I will show you what we need to do to basically create a data dictionary by connecting to a database, looping through each of the tables, and then for each table doing an inner loop on all the columns to get the column names and column data types, putting that into a Pandas data frame, and then saving that Pandas data frame locally on your machine as a CSV, and then sending an additional copy back to your relational database so that you have a living data dictionary as a SQL table in your database. So it'll be pretty cool. All right, let's import the necessary modules. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to retrieve my MySQL password, and it's an environment variable. So again, I really encourage, if you have any sensitive information, to take it and save it into an environment variable so that the value can be used, but the contents of that value remain hidden. So retrieve MySQL password as environment variable. So MySQL password. Okay. Let's now establish a connection with MySQL. Host is going to equal localhost. Let's make sure to add a comma. The user is going to equal root. The password, just set that to the environment variable. The database, as we saw, is the mobile games database. So what we're going to do is, as we connect to MySQL, we're going to loop through every table. We're going to get the table name, and then we're going to create an inner loop so that for each table, we're looping through all the columns to get the column names and the column data types. And we're going to save record by record, row by row. We're going to save that into a Pandas data frame. And then we're going to save that Pandas data frame to your local machine as a CSV, and then send it back to MySQL as a SQL table. So let's create this Pandas data frame. it'll just have 3 columns or 3 fields, which will be the table. Make sure my syntax is correct here, which will be the table name, the column name, oops, and then lastly the column data type. Okay, that looks good. Let's now create a cursor object. Using the connection. And then with this cursor object, let's retrieve our table names. And that'll be using this command right here. So cursor execute, it's gonna be show tables. And then we have to save those results somewhere. So let's do cursor fetch all. Save this into tables. And this is what we're gonna loop through. So for table in tables, we're going to execute another command, which is to return the column names for the specific table that we're on in the loop. Let's make this an F string, so describe. This is going to be the first argument for each table element. Okay. So again, we have to run a fetch all to get all the columns. And then here is our inner loop. So we have to loop through each column individually of all of the columns returned here for this one specific table. Okay, so for column in columns. And now we have the 3 pieces of data or information we need to create the row or the record that we're going to insert into the Pandas data frame. So the table name is going to equal basically the first parameter. Column name, again, it's just going to be the column first parameter or argument. And then column data type equals the second position, so not the first. Cool. So this represents one record that we now need to insert here. So we'll do data dictionary, and we'll do the length of the data dictionary, and we will insert this data in the first or next blank row in that Pandas data frame. That'll be the table name variable that we defined up here, column name, column data type. Okay. So each time this loop runs, it goes through each table And then within each table, it loops through each column and it returns the name of the table, the name of the column, and then the column's data type, and it generates a record or a row of data that we insert into the Pandas data frame. So after we go through all tables and all columns and all column data types, it finishes. And it finishes by populating this Pandas data frame. So now we are ready to write the Python to save this locally on our machine. So let's do save as a CSV. So all we really need to do is just data dictionary to CSV command, pretty simple. And then add the address and just go with index equals false. And your file path and the name of what you want to call the outbound CSV file will go in here. But just for additional learning, I will show you the file path that I'll use for my local machine. So and then we're going to save or call this Pandas data frame data dictionary.csv. Okay, cool. Now the other thing we're going to do, we're really going to go above and beyond, and not only are we going to automate creating this data dictionary and save it locally as a CSV for us to reference and share with our team and whatnot, we're also going to send a copy back to MySQL and take that Pandas data frame and turn it into a SQL table in our mobile games database so that other analysts can just open up the SQL table called Data Dictionary to understand all the tables and columns and contents of the database that they're working in. So super useful. So send data dictionary to MySQL as SQL table. So this is going to involve a different way to connect to MySQL. So just add an F string there, MySQL plus MySQL connector / the user is a root like we discussed, and then let's add our MySQL password, which is the environment variable. And then here is the database that we're connecting to in MySQL. Great. And now we're ready to send this off to MySQL. Let's see, data dictionary, Pandas data frame to SQL. And the name of the SQL table is just going to be called something really self-evident. So just call the SQL table data dictionary. The connection is going to be this engine variable. If that SQL table already exists, just replace it. And then the index is equal to false. Okay, cool. So we are done. I'm not going to save the Pandas data frame as a CSV because I already have that CSV open because I want to show it and share it with you. But we will be writing out the Pandas data frame to MySQL as a SQL table. So I'm just going to comment this out, and and then just run this entire script. Okay, great. So let's take a look at our data dictionary outputs. Okay, this is fantastic. So this is the data dictionary or Pandas data frame that we saved locally as a CSV onto our machine. As you can see here, column A has all of the table names, column B has all of the column names, and then column C has all of the column data types. So very cool. The next thing I want to show you is if you navigate back to MySQL and we refresh our database, there's going to be a new SQL table in there, and it's our data dictionary. So look at that. We have a live and living data dictionary in our database. So again, I think this is really cool, where instead of having to manually put together a data dictionary, you can use that same Python script to basically do it automatically and not only save a copy for yourself to your local machine, but also put a data dictionary in your relational database right next to your tables within the same database. If you like this content, please continue to like and subscribe. Thank you very much.